Hello everybody, this is Toast VR, and today I will be teaching you how to draw the prototype from Poppy Playtime Chapter 5. So, let's get straight into it. So, you're going to want to start by just drawing a simple circle, like so, but then you'll have to draw the eye sockets, which are basically just side diagonal ovals. So, do one on the other side of that. But make sure it doesn't look stupid. So make sure it's pretty wide, but not too wide. But one key detail is that you need to make one, well, the left eye, like just completely dark. But the other, you'll need a bit of a bright color to just make a simple, like, circle, I guess you could call it. And then just color around that to get the prototypes glowing. Hi, so. But here's a little more of a tricky part. So next is the mouth. So the mouth is pretty easy. All you need to do is just draw simple line, or like a bit of a bumpy line. But then you need to make it go all the way up, like so. And then a bit of like a pointy edge, and then a bit more of a pointy edge, and then straight as it goes. A bit more of a pointy edge, like shown, and then do that big line up again, and then all the way back down, meeting your other line. And that is the lips complete. But in this app that I'm using, I'm pretty sure some of you are familiar with Procreate, the drawing app on mobile. But you don't have to use it. You can use pen. You can use it on paper. You can just use this tutorial even if you're on a notepad. As long as you want to draw this with me, then you can use it on anything. But the trickiest part about the mouth that we are going to do next is the teeth. You see, the teeth aren't just like squares like in cartoons. They are actually human looking. So what you'll need to do first, draw a thin line like that, and then draw another thin line, but a little bit of a longer one, and then repeat that, a little bit of a longer thin line, but then make it go a little longer and a little wider, and then make it a little longer, a little wider once again, but keep it at that same length. But make sure there's a couple of gaps so it looks absolutely natural. But some needs to be joined together because you know he's a toy, he's not really alive. So now you need to make it go up a bit until it gets to that certain point. And then you can actually no, don't fill it in yet. I was thinking of something stupid. So draw a little bit of a bump. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to make my pencil thinner. Draw little humps for the next teeth, but then make a little small tooth sticking out like that. Make one sticking out but a little longer. Repeat that process again, a little bit of a longer tooth. And now just keep that looking behind the main teeth. But make sure that some are smaller than the others and make sure some are bigger so that it looks like actual teeth. But some need to be longer, some need to be wider, but some need to be smaller. And we are getting to the end of the teeth. So what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to make sure that all of my teeth are connected to the gums so that when I fill it in, it won't fill in the whole drawing. Like so. See? Some things in this app are too small to fill in, like so you'll have to just colour it in. So that is what I'm going to be doing now. So a bit more colouring, but then I can just drag the colour in myself. But you need to colour in the actual gaps of the teeth. And look at that! That is already taking shape. But next you want to get a bit of a purplish colour, sort of like Lily Lovebraid's hair, and get it to a familiar thing. Make it go around the eye sockets. And then if you can, make it a bit of a lighter colour, and then put that on the outside so it looks shading, sort of. So I will be back with you when I'm done with the eyes. Alright, so that is done. So next we are going to move on to the hat. But the hat can sometimes be a little tricky, but not for me though. So what I'm going to be doing next is doing the outline of the face. So I'm using a bit of a thicker brush here to actually get that shape as shown. But now I'm going to make it a bit thinner so we can get the shape of the hat. But it's not just any normal hat, it's, to be exact, a jester hat. So it is going to be a pretty long hat. So then we are going to make it look a bit jagged, like that. But then we need to attach the bell at the end. So there we go. As shown, you need to make it a small bell, but quite a large bell, as shown. So then we would need to colour it in. So that is a sort of yellowish colour, kind of like the eye, like that. But the bell is a bit of a darker yellow, like that. But we would need to do some shading. So get some darker yellow, and if you use Procreate like me, you're familiar with the blend tool. But if you don't, then you can just use shading techniques. Or some of you use pens. like alcohol markers or Poscas. So you can just blend it in. But with my fellas using Procreate, they can just use the blend tool, which allows them to just blend in their shading as shown. So that looks a lot better now. So, but now we're going to have to repeat that cycle once again on the other side of the face. I'm going to make a second hat, but this time it's not going to be a yellow hat. It is going to be, drum roll please, a red hat. Yes, a red hat. I know that it's not that shocking, but some of you needed to know, so just did it. Right now, I'm going to colour in red. Oh, appears that I have made a mistake doing the outline. So I'm going to select my black again and get that a nice and fully connected. So let me test that out one more time. Yeah. So now we're going to use that same colour that we used for the bell, but now we're going to have to use a bit of a darker red to get that shading, like we were just talking about. To get that in and start blending. Well, some of you can't blend, so just come down here where you can't see and just draw your red and then get a darker red. Let's do that. Blend. Yeah, it's quite simple when you actually get it. Right, so that is the red side done. So now we're going to move on to the blue side, which you can't really see that much of. So what you're going to do for the blue is draw a hump on the prototype's head and just fill that in. But it won't look good without shading, right? So that's what we need to add. Even though it's not a big thing, shading is still important. So there we go. But we also need to make sure that it has an outline so that it looks neater and tidier. I know I basically just used the same word there, but you know what I'm trying to describe. So there you go. Almost fully complete prototype head. But one of the only obstacles in our way now is the detail. Well, not really the detail, but the actual realism. Well, so what we're going to do is get grey, put some patches on the prototype's face, and then blend that in. And then once you have done that, Shazam! You have your very own prototype drawing. This is Toast VR, and I am out.